Okay, so here we go. Welcome to my first live stream on YouTube. I'm trying out all this software for the first time, so apologies for any issues with the quality of the video or sound. I'm just using the built-in microphone on my computer, and afterwards I'll have a listen to see if it's any good, and if not I'll switch to a headset or something for future ones of these. So the idea is fairly simple. I'm not expecting any viewers at all live viewing this, so I've taken a few NAudio questions that I've got by email today. I usually get quite a lot of NAudio requests for help every day, and it's hard to keep on top of them, but I thought it'd be good to just answer a few random questions, and hopefully this will prove useful to some people. So question one that hopefully you can see here is on the GitHub site from Necromancer, and Necromancer is saying, I got an exception with a message that MP3 file reader does not support changes to channel count, and he got that when he was just trying to open an MP3 file. And this is a known issue with NAudio. So I'm going to have to start. There's a known issue with NAudio, and the issue is that basically when we create an MP3 file reader, we have to decide what the wave format of that file is, what the sample rate is, and how many channels it is. And in a typical MP3 file, you expect that not to change as you move through the file. If it's stereo at the beginning, it should be stereo the whole way through. If it's 44.1 kilohertz at the beginning, it should be the whole way through. What can sometimes happen is that NAudio can misinterpret some album art as MP3 frames, and that ends up basically confusing NAudio as to what the correct format is. So the real solution, unfortunately, is probably for me to fix NAudio for it to read many frames, say 10 in a row, and only if it's got 10 in a row that are exactly the same format does it think that it's found the format for the file. So usually caused by album art at the start of the file being misinterpreted as valid MP3 frames. Really, the correct fix is for NAudio to only decide it has the correct wave format for the MP3 file if it gets many, usually 10 or more MP3 frames in the same format. You can, however, use the read next frame method on the MP3 file to access the raw frames directly, and you could even pass them through a decoder yourself. So I'll comment that. Right. Close that one down, and the next question was on the CodePlex site. The NAudio questions seem to come all over the place, some on StackOverflow, some on GitHub, some on CodePlex. This one is change the folder in which audio file reader plays files. How do I change the folder in which audio file reader plays a file from? Basically, I have to put it in bin debug, and this is really not an audio issue at all. This is to do with the working directory that your application is running in, which by default will be bin debug. So you can just say sound/song mp3 to get at files in a relative folder or pass the full path into play sound. So that was a nice and easy one. And right, the next question is on Stack Overflow, and it is, can I get the peak values for the ASIO input device? And I know how to use audio meter information.peak values. Audio meter information is part of Wasapi, which has got some nice APIs for sort of finding out what's going on with your sound cards. But how do I do this in an ASIO device? Basically, with ASIO, you need to start recording, which will give you access to the raw samples, and you can use this to update level meters. This is how most DAWs will work. They will always be recording in that they are monitoring the inputs on the ASIO device. And so the only difference when you press record is that now it's writing it to disk as well. So yeah, some people get very hung up on the wording, the idea that you're basically saying start recording, and you're not recording, you're just monitoring the levels. But as far as the sound card's concerned, you're just saying give me the current sample values that you're capturing, and the sound card doesn't care whether you're writing those to disk or whether you're just using them to update a level meter. So that's how I recommend monitoring levels, and is the only way to do it with ASIO. Right, next question, PCM streaming with Wasapi. I'm trying to create a proof of concept function for a Windows app that streams PCM data from a buffer. And I had a little look at this earlier. It's using Wasapi out RT, so it's making a Windows Store application, most likely, or maybe Windows 8 application. And it's got, so it creates a new Wasapi out, sets the wave format that we're going to output in, creates a buffered wave provider, and the buffered wave provider in NAudio is a class that basically you can queue up some audio to be played, usually only sort of 5 seconds. Here is set the buffer duration to 10 seconds. So you're queuing up audio to be played, and you need to keep replenishing that buffer as the sound card is reading from it. So it's great for receiving audio over the network in real time. One thing you have to be careful with is not overflowing the buffer if you're filling it faster than you play, or underflows where you're playing it faster than you fill up the buffer. And so what it looks like he's done is he's started playing, and then I say he, it's Thunder 13, he or she is have started to play, and basically is now in a while loop monitoring how much is in the buffer, and if there is more than 16,000 bytes, it's quite a low amount because you're filling up the buffer quite quickly, although we might be going at quite a low sample rate here. Yeah, it's working at a sample rate of 4 kilohertz. That is very low. I'm surprised that Wasapi out even allows that. So that's the first thing I'll say. You seem to be trying to use a very low sample rate. Wasapi typically requires either 44.1 kilohertz or 48 kHz, and IEEE float samples. So it's a little surprising that you get past init successfully. But once you're playing, and play is not a blocking call, it just means start playing. I sometimes wish I'd called the method start playing, because some people expect that when you call play that we kind of block on this line until you get to the end of the file. That's not how NAudio works. It just means start playing. There's some sleeping going on, and adding more samples to the buffered wave provider. Now, when will it actually stop playing? Well, it will stop playing when the buffered wave provider returns 0 from the read method. So it may just be playback will stop when buffered wave provider returns 0 from read. Actually, let me just get up buffered wave provider, because I need to remember whether by default read fully is true. So actually it should never return 0, because even if there's nothing in the buffer, when we call read, if it hasn't managed to read anything from the buffer, it will, and read buffer is true, it will just zip off the Zappy out RT. Looks like my streaming might be having troubles keeping up, so if this is absolutely unwatchable, I apologise. There's nobody watching live anyway, so we can just delete this if necessary. Right, so I'll subscribe to the playback and check the exception property to see if there is a problem that is causing it to stop. So 356 is the capture, and let's just show you on NAudio, and we're looking for iWave player, which is the interface that all the wave outs implement, and you'll see it's got playback stopped event with stopped event args, and when we look at stopped event args, you can see that it's got an exception. So if the exception is set to true, then that basically means playback has stopped because of some kind of problem. So it's always worth subscribing to that and checking it. So let's get back to here, and I'll save that. And maybe somebody was watching, because it says that now 0 people are watching. So maybe someone else was watching, and we do have audio, so it's not completely silent. But I'm definitely on my own. 0 people watching. So PCM streaming with Zappy. And we've done that one. Just a couple more that I'm going to do in this first live stream, just in case it is absolutely unwatchable. So I won't go on for too long today. This person is asking, hello, in which direction must I go if I need 2 things at the same time? To play 2 or several audio files simultaneously and at the same time get real-time analysis of both. Now this person actually asked the same question twice, once here. So I'm going to answer here and say what you need to do is first of all use audio file readers for each of the files, and then pass them into a mixing sample provider. Then from the mixing sample provider you would need to pass that let's rephrase that. Then you would need to pass the mixing sample provider into a custom iSample provider whose read method reads from the source. So this is the decorator pattern that NAudio uses extensively, and performs any real-time analysis of the samples. You can see some basic examples of this in the NAudio demo projects. This is the type of thing that I unfortunately don't have a very ready-to-hand sample piece of code that does exactly what this person is asking, but a number of the NAudio demo projects do things like display level meters or display waveforms while audio is being played. So all of the prints, in fact, I've even got one that does fast Fourier transform. So all of the pieces that you need to put this together are in here. So I will just give him a pointer in the right direction and see if it comes back. And I'm pretty sure this is exactly the same person here who has written a rather lengthy question on Stack Overflow asking about the same thing. I want to play multiple files simultaneously. It's listed loads of bits of code from NAudio and a blog article that I've written, and then shown some code that really doesn't do anything at all. I'm not quite sure what this code is supposed to achieve. So this person is clearly a complete beginner to NAudio. I'm just going to leave the question. I'm just going to leave the answer that I put on the CodePlex site. I'm surprised that the rather zealous Stack Overflow moderators haven't closed this question down already, to be honest. But I won't be mean and downvote it. Right, and I'm just going to do one more here, and this is, I get a COM exception when I try to access audio capture client, buffer size, etc. There are several properties of a device's audio client property, and it's got a particular H result. Let's Google that. Let me Google that for you, sir. Xbox music error. This is audio client not initialized. That's helpful. I really could do with making NAudio better at reporting what these COM exceptions are. I think I started to do some work to make it do that. So let's go in here. That error code is audio client not initialized, which means that until you oh, I've done something funny there. Gone full screen. So until you initialize the device, and what do we actually get here? So device. Let's have a quick look at the NAudio source code again for device. And do I have an explicit initialize method? So get audio clients. Yeah, audio client has got an initialize. So imagine what's happened is got hold of the audio client. Let's just have a quick look at the question again. Yes, until you call initialize on the audio client, you can't access all its properties. So that one wasn't as bad as I feel. I'm not typing that whole thing in, so give me an easy one, 1037. Okay, and so that's my first live stream of answering some NAudio questions. I hope that you learned something useful in it. Thank you to whoever the one person who was watching, if that wasn't me. And if the quality of this comes out okay, I may try and do some more in the future. So let me see if I can work out how to stop streaming now.